Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Moonlit Library, your home for all things smutty story time. I'm so excited to have you back this week because I am really excited for our read this week. We're back in the study! Yay! I am particularly excited about this because in the study, you can actually see me. In the gaming layer, I look like a slightly taupe splotch against the white walls. So this is a really exciting day for me. Y'all are actually able to see me here. And I wish I could say it was because I wised up and got new technology that can support regular recording. And the answer to that is no. I discovered a way to sort of backhack my computer into tolerating me for some amount of time. We'll see how it goes. For right now, I'm really excited about it. Adding to the list of things that I am excited about is this week's author, and specifically this week's book. I found this author through a complete twist of fate. As you all know, I love me a good special edition, and as you would expect, that has led me to some of the special edition subscription book boxes. I have my favorites, obviously, and Fabled is one of them. It's a subscription-based book box out of Australia that does some of the prettiest books I have ever seen in my entire life. The really cool thing about Fabled is that they work with indie authors almost exclusively. They worked with Sarah Kate and Emily McIntyre back before they became household names with the Salacious Players Club and Never After, respectively. And they are really into ensuring that they bring in authors that most people haven't really heard of before. Which is how I found out about this author. Even though she has a voluminous following, I just wasn't aware of her. Fabled announced their release of one of the prettiest books I had ever seen, written by an author I had never heard of. So I was really excited. The book was darling. It had coffee mugs all over it, and emphasized an age gap romance, which is also, as many of you know, my freaking jam. So I immediately signed up for this book box, because I needed that stinking book so much. It arrived weeks later. I ogled it, jumped around a lot, because it's very, very pretty, and then proceeded to put it on my shelf for about 5 months. Because, at the very minimum, I am nothing if not consistently inconsistent about reading books on my TBR. I tend to prioritize books that I've randomly discovered on Instagram with one-shot quotes. Books that my close friends have peer pressured me into reading, and just anything else that strikes my fancy. Obviously, this is not conducive to actually reading the things that are on my TBR. However, I finally made it. I finally made it to this beautiful book in February of 2024, this year. I read it in exactly 3 hours. And I discovered that I am completely in love with this author, and I needed to read literally everything she's ever written. That book was Latte Darling by S.J. Tilley. While that is not our read for today, because it is in fact the second book in the Darling series, we are in fact reading an S.J. Tilley book. After I proceeded to read literally everything she had ever written in a very short time period, it was about 3 months from me first reading Latte Darling to me reading everything she ever wrote. I'm hoping that that is endearing and not creepy. I absolutely adore her work because she puts her heart and soul into the characters. The really cool thing is a lot of her characters are beautiful in a way that society does not traditionally promote. So she has a lot of plus-size characters. She has a lot of characters suffering from mental health issues. And most of her main male characters, MMCs, are some of the most wonderful men you will ever read in this week's series. She writes possessive men who never sort of leap over the line into creepy. Obviously, they're stalking. It's creepy, full acknowledgement, but she manages to make it endearing and not terrifying. That probably says more about me than it does anything else. So, without further teasing, I would like to introduce y'all to this week's smutty story time, which is S.J. Tilley's Nero, which is the first book in the Alliance series. The Alliance is sort of a consolidation of power. It's four men who have joined forces into a criminal enterprise that goes beyond the realm of what a traditional mafia story looks like. So Nero is the first book in the Alliance series, and it introduces us to Nero and Payton. I am very excited to introduce you to this series. So now we are going to kick things off with our synopsis, our dedication, and then we're going to find our way over to chapters 1 through 3 of Nero. Payton. Running away from home at 17 wasn't easy. Let's face it though, nothing before or in the 10 years since has ever been easy for me. And I'm doing okay. Sorta. I just need to keep scraping by, living under the radar, staying out of people's way, off people's minds. So when a man walks through my open patio door, stepping boldly into my home and my life, I should be scared, frightened, terrified. But I must be more broken than I realized, because I'm none of those things. I'm intrigued, and I'm wondering if the way to take control of my life is by giving in to him. Nero. The first time I took a man's life, I knew there'd be no going back. No normal existence in the cards for me. So instead of walking away, I climbed a mountain of bodies and created my own destiny by forming the Alliance. And I was fine with that, content enough to carry on, until I stepped through those open doors and into her life. I should have walked away, should have gone right back out the door I came through, but I didn't. And now her life is in danger. But that's the thing about being a bad man. I'll happily paint the streets red to protect what's mine. And Payton is mine, whether she knows it or not. Y'all, that synopsis is just a hint of how good this book is. Because that synopsis gives you an amazing view of how uncertain and terrified Payton is, not of Nero, but of her past. And you see, on the flip side, all of Nero's confidence and possessiveness. I'll say it again, and at some point I should probably put this on a shirt. At the Moonlit Library, we love our Unhinged MMCs. Real talk. Love them. And Nero does Unhinged so very, very well, and you see a little bit of that in our first 3 chapters. Now on to our dedication. To all my ladies who see those walking red flags as a pretty shade of pink, repeat after me. Only when the men are fictional. I don't know about y'all, but I feel really called out by that dedication. Called out on like the same level as the One Little Nightmare dedication from a few weeks back, where it identified that the book was for all of those girlies who loved American Horror Story a little too much and listened to the Queen of the Damned soundtrack on Maine a little too often. This is right up there with that dedication for how called out I feel by it. A standard part of our read-along is to share the content warnings, if in fact there are any. The last few weeks haven't really had any, but this week definitely does. So please pay attention, and if you feel uncomfortable with any of the topics that are in this book, please protect yourself, and if you need to, step away. Dear reader, this is an adult dark mafia romance. There is graphic on-page violence, death, and kidnapping. There is on-page past emotional trauma and physical abuse. There are instances of dubious consent and extreme stalker tendencies, as well as a man who is basically a walking red flag. Please proceed well informed and with caution. Now, let's dive in to our first 3 chapters. Chapter 1, Payton. A red and gold leaf floats across the room, seemingly weightless, before settling onto the carpet between my spot on the couch and the TV. I glance at my open patio door where another gust of wind brings the scent of promised rain, but instead of getting up, I tuck my legs underneath me and pull my fleece blanket up to my chin, careful not to tip the bowl of popcorn resting on the cushion next to me. A storm is coming. You spoiled brat, I'm gonna teach you. I snuggle further into the corner of my couch. That was so long ago, I remind myself, inhaling deeply through my nose, willing new memories to replace the old. This is my home. I'm safe here. The low rumble of distant thunder calms me further. No matter how much they tried to beat it out of me, I never lost my love of violent weather. I never understood why I was supposed to be scared of storms. Didn't understand why it made me different or wrong or stupid like they claimed. It wasn't the violent I craved, it was the change, the washing away, the cleansing. That smallest sliver of hope that a wave might crash through, dragging away the old, leaving something new. And maybe that's why I still like them. There's still that spot in my chest, deep inside of me, that wants to be sucked up into the sky, whisked away from it all and dropped into Oz. As if summoned by the wind, the woman on screen opens her front door, and the world around her morphs from black and white to color, and I let the familiar sense of nostalgia wash over me. The sounds of the nearing storm keep filtering in and out of my awareness, even as I sway my head to the familiar songs. My hand is halfway to my mouth, popcorn between my fingers, when the dull noise of groaning metal drags my gaze to the patio, the sliding glass door open wide. The gauzy curtains I installed last year are flowing eerily with the breeze, but the street lamp outside is burnt out, so I can't see beyond my tiny balcony. I've never really trusted that balcony. It's as shabby as the rest of this building, but I figured it'd take more than a little inclement weather to knock it down. I give myself a mental gold star for never bothering with furniture out there as I lick the salt off my fingers. Another roll of thunder, closer this time, draws my attention back to the balcony, and the man standing in my open door. Chapter 2, Payton. A scream catches in my throat, too strangled to be heard. I'm dreaming. My eyes squeeze shut, and I force myself to breathe. I must be dreaming. But when I open them again, the man is still there and coming closer. The man crosses half of my apartment in 2 long strides, putting him only feet away. Adrenaline courses through my body, yet I don't move. To my own humiliation, I don't do anything. There's a man in my home. Aside from the television, the lamp in the corner is the only light on, and it does little to illuminate the man in front of me. He's tall. I'm sitting, but I can tell he's tall. And he's wearing a suit. Why is he wearing a suit? Does that make this worse? Evening. His voice is deep, but gentle, soft even, and my brain doesn't know how to react. My heart is racing. My hands are shaking, but the rest of me doesn't move. You know, he says as he takes a few slow steps, crossing in front of the TV, you really shouldn't leave your door open like that. My lips part, but my words get jumbled on my tongue, and I have to swallow before trying again. I'm on the 2nd floor, I whisper, still trying to understand what's happening. He tilts his head, and it feels like he's humoring my response, but I can't focus on that, because the angle allows the light to fall across his features, and dark eyes, dark brows, Nearly black hair, tousled yet styled back, and sharp cheekbones outlined with a trimmed beard in the same shade. I swallow again. He looks like he came from a photo shoot, or a boardroom, or a photo shoot of a boardroom. And an inner voice is shouting at me that should make this even scarier. Should. I also notice that his clothes aren't wet, which means the rain hasn't started. And for some reason, that saddens me. Like, that detail alone seals my ruin. This is why I've always been such a victim. My instincts are broken. My mind always steers away from the important parts, zeroing in on ridiculous details and not on a game plan. Keeping his body facing me, the man glances around my apartment. I don't know a lot about men's suits, but I'm guessing his clothes cost more than all my belongings put together. My stuff isn't fancy, and it looks just as cheap as it is. A second-hand couch and scuffed coffee table. The small TV on a cheap stand I had to assemble myself with an Allen wrench. My round table with one chair tucked in the corner, and a thin stretch of island designating the divide between the living room and kitchen. A kitchen that's more of a kitchenette, complete with laminate counters that are peeling at the edges. I resist the urge to sigh at the sight of my phone sitting on said kitchen counter, mocking me with the idea of calling the police, knowing I'll never get the chance. Not that they've ever helped me in the past. My single bedroom and bathroom are on the other side of the kitchen, but darkness swallows them. The man makes a noise in the back of his throat as he takes it all in. I have no idea what he's thinking, or why I should be so anxious for his approval. Like there's anything in this sad setting to approve of. Or any benefit if one's murderer likes their apartment. A police siren wails outside. Then another. And a moment later I watch the flash of red and blue lights bounce down through the night as cop cars speed past my building. Slowly, I turn my gaze back to the man facing me. He lifts a shoulder and the edge of his mouth pulls up into a smirk. This man is running from the cops. He's running from the cops and he's standing in my living room, like nothing is amiss. Like he just decided to take a different route home. His body shifts, and I think that maybe that's all this will be. The police have passed by, now he can leave. But he lifts a foot and steps closer. Panic starts to flare brighter inside me, hitting its flash point when another gust of wind lifts the edge of his suit jacket. Oh God, he has a gun. He doesn't reach for it, though. He just lowers himself onto the couch. My couch. Beside me. Once again, my mouth opens with nothing coming out. What is he doing? What is happening? I love this movie, he says almost to himself. What in the hell is happening? His large body fills up too much space on the couch. All my furniture is small. Small because my apartment is small. Small because it's only ever me here. I sit frozen, wondering if I should say something, but he keeps his focus on the TV. Is he just gonna stay here? I start to shift, wondering if I can just get up and slip away. I'd rather you didn't get up. He doesn't turn his head when he says it, his tone casual, but there's no hiding the fact that it's not a request. My breathing picks up as I remain facing forward, prickles running up and down my arms. Great. Now my animal reaction decides to catch up to the situation. There's no question that this man is dangerous, and he's too close. I never let men get this close. My entire body starts to tremble. Please don't. I cut off my plea, not wanting to put my specific fears into words. I can hear the rustle of fabric as he starts to turn toward me, and I squeeze my eyes shut. This can't be happening. This can't be real. Relax. A large hand settles on my thigh, and I stiffen even more. The weight of his palm is alarming, the heat of his touch searing me through the blanket. His hand presses down with a little more force. Relax. His tone is even gentler this time, and I try to take a steady breath. A dark scent fills my nostrils. It's leather and fire and cologne. Jesus, is that him? My eyes slip open. He's leaning toward me, invading my space further, and the stance should feel dominating. But there's something in his body language, or maybe it's something in his eyes that makes my body obey. Makes me relax just a little. His gaze travels over my face, and this close, I can see a tinge of green in his eyes. They're stunning. His eyes move back to mine. I'm not going to hurt you. When I don't reply, he tips his head down, a command implied with the movement. Okay. I mostly mouth the word, my voice too quiet to hear, but he nods anyway, a pleased look crossing his features. Pleased that I believe him? Do I believe him? His hand slides off my thigh, taking the heat with him. May I? May you what? Before I have time to start spiraling, he lifts the bowl of popcorn from the spot between us. Oh. Without waiting for an answer, he settles back, props his feet up on the coffee table, and sets the bowl on his lap. Then, casual as ever, he drapes one arm across the back of the couch, fingers nearly touching my shoulder like he's here for a date and not a home invasion. I watch as he starts to eat the popcorn, whole handfuls at a time, never dropping a single piece on himself. I should do something. There must be something I should do. His jaw works as he chews, the muscles in the side of his neck flexing. I mean, I know I should leave, or make him leave. But how? With my eyes still on his profile, waiting for whatever's going to happen next, I hear the character on the screen talk about courage, and I wish more than anything I had some. What's your name? I jump when he speaks, then bite my lip. I don't think I should tell you that? I see his eyes flick over in my direction. Clever girl. Those two syllables bounce across my skin. My fingers tighten around the blanket, pulling it even higher. I can't find this man attractive. I really cannot. My stomach clenches, and my stupid brain takes this moment to remind me that I probably look like a disheveled mess. Not that it matters. I don't need this intruder to think I'm sexy. In fact, it's probably better that he doesn't. It's probably better that I have popcorn breath and a ponytail that needs adjusting, and bangs that are going every which way since they got damp when I washed the makeup off my face before sitting down to watch my favorite movie for the 400th time. The fingers near my shoulder tap against the backrest, keeping in time with the characters on TV as they skip down the road. This has gotta be the weirdest thing that's ever happened to me. A hot-as-hell man walks in through my second-story balcony, strolls through my apartment with a confidence I can only dream of having, flashes me a glimpse of his gun, then settles in to eat my popcorn. And is he humming? Sweet Mother Mary, he's humming. With careful, small movements, I push myself further into the corner, trying to add any amount of distance I can between us. I want to ask his name, ask him what he's running from, but I feel like the less knowledge I have, the better. Except you've seen his face, my inner voice unhelpfully reminds me. Not knowing what else to do, I stare at his profile, watching the way the light dances off his eyes, the way his mouth opens and closes around handfuls of popcorn, the way his shoulders seem relaxed. He seems so at ease, so comfortable. My lids lower in a slow blink, and I force them wide. I can't make out the clock on the microwave from here, but I know it's past my bedtime. I didn't intend on staying up for the entire film, because waking up at 5 a.m. every weekday means I go to bed early, and I haven't been sleeping well this week. Hell, I haven't been sleeping well the past 27 years. He chews another mouthful, and I watch the movement of his Adam's apple as he swallows. Maybe this really is all a dream. Maybe I'm already in bed, sound asleep. Chapter 3. Nero. I can sense her eyes closing. Sense her muscles loosening as sleep pulls her consciousness away from me and the situation I've put her in, and it makes me furious. This soft creature shouldn't let her guard down, not around a stranger, not around me. My fists start to clench, but I stop the urge. I'm in control. I'm always in fucking control. My fingers curl around another handful of popcorn and I shove it into my mouth. I know my anger is misplaced. I told her to relax. Told her I wouldn't hurt her. She's done nothing wrong, except trust me. She should absolutely not trust me. Her body finally gives up the fight, and her head lolls to the side, her lips nearly brushing the back of my fingers, her breath a warm caress on my skin. For too long, I watch her, stare at her, observe her. Her lashes flutter in her sleep, dreams affecting her, although her body remains unmoving. She's a temptation. Even with her body hidden under the blanket, I can tell I'll like the rest of her. The softness of her cheeks surely continues down her frame. The women I'm often seen with, the ones I'm expected to be with, don't look like her. Don't look innocent, or sweet, or fed. They usually look exactly like the vipers they are, that they need to be, because my world isn't a place for sweet innocence. My world is the dark pit that sucks all the light and goodness out of everything it touches. A small sound crawls out of her dream, one that's too close to distress. Before I can stop myself, I'm reaching out. The pad of my thumb ghosts over her bottom lip, the flesh feeling as delicate as it looks. Get a fucking grip. Snatching my hand away, I stand, my movements silent. I need to leave. I should have left the second the cop cars drove past. Popcorn bowl in hand, I walk to the small kitchen. The counters are clean, everything is in its rightful place, just like the living room. Setting the bowl down, I unplug her phone and pick it up. Tapping on the screen, it scans my face before displaying a number pad. Figures she keeps this locked. Who are you, sweet girl? I trail the fingers of my free hand across the fronts of her cupboards. I know better than to leave fingerprints, but can't fight the compulsion to leave a mark, even if she can't see it. Then my eyes snag on a small stack of mail tucked between an unplugged toaster and the wall. Got you. I pick the envelopes up, reading the name and address on the unopened ones. Hello, Payton Vaudry. Pretty name for a pretty girl. Carrying on with my inspection, I step up to a tiny table hosting an ancient laptop, and I reach out and touch the leaves. A fake plant. I grit my teeth. Why does her fake plant make me so goddamn angry? Because I've lost my fucking mind. It's time to leave. My feet turn away from the table, and I walk deeper into the apartment. The dark hallway, you can barely call it that, is only long enough to have one doorway on either side. Stepping into the bathroom, I flip on the light. It's small and clean as expected, the visible dinginess inherent to the age of the building and not to her cleaning skills. The room is filled with the same lingering scent I thought I smelled earlier. What is that? Flowers? I open the medicine cabinet, finding a few items. It's mostly makeup and some over-the-counter medications, but no perfume. Nothing to tie the smell to. The shower curtain is pulled closed. It's a vibrant yellow matching the floor mat in front of the sink. An attempt at cheeriness in a windowless room. I drag the curtain back, revealing a variety of bottles lining the edge of the tub. My eyes catch on a clear bottle with a black top, half full of a dark pink liquid. I press the back of the lid, popping it open, and inhale the rich scent of roses. It's her. Exiting the bathroom, I cross into the one and only bedroom. More yellow, more clean sparseness. I'm not surprised by the fact that her bed is made. There's something about this woman that compels her to keep everything in its place. Something I respect. The closed closet door beckons me, and I'm not one to deny myself, so I pull it open. This is not like the wardrobes I'm used to seeing. I'm used to walk-in closets, clothes worn once, some never worn. Abundance. This is not abundance. That place long dead inside of me gives a beat. I haven't forgotten what it's like to live without. I'll never forget, just like I'll never go back. Leaving everything as I found it, I make my way back to the living room. Years of practice lets me get close to her without making a sound. She looks so calm. I should walk out now, leave her be. Leaning in closer, I hold out her phone and wait for the facial ID software to allow me in. So that's our first 3 chapters of Nero, and honestly, the first 3 chapters set the stage for that push-pull back and forth between Payton and Nero beautifully, because Nero just so desperately wants to not want Payton. And Payton feels like she should be absolutely terrified of Nero because, he broke into her apartment and roamed around and violated her privacy while she was asleep. Makes sense why she should feel that she should be scared of him. But neither one of them can really commit to the feelings that they think they should have. Nero wants to protect his sweet, clever girl. And by the way, as everybody should have guessed, I love the movie Jurassic Park. It is one of my favorite movies of all time, bar none. The phrase, clever girl, said by Nero when she goes, I don't think I should tell you my name, is so damn sexy. Honestly, good girl, or you're being such a good girl for me, was like the pinnacle of sexy praise kink talk for me. And then Nero came out with Clever Girl, which harkened back to like the OG Jurassic Park Clever Girl. And my entire brain exploded. Now for me, it's just Clever Girl or bust. But then Nero gives us Sweet Girl. And slay me, that's fucking hot. Real talk. And so Nero spends a good chunk of the book trying to distance himself from Payton because his life is dangerous. He runs a sort of multi-tiered mafia type criminal enterprise with 4 other men, and there are some people who definitely do not like that he owns the area. So he's worried about her because he thinks she will become a target, and she's too soft to be a target. But in spite of that, he can't bring himself to step away from her. And he finds himself going back to her more and more. Especially when, after, I think it's something like 2 weeks of stalking her, she actually leaves her patio door open just for him. And of course, like any good unhinged MMC who's doing some light stalking from the building across the street, he notices this and crawls into her apartment and bed. At which point, she gives him her virginity. And, of course, like any good unhinged MMC, he's like, that's mine. You are mine now. This is property. And in real life, that level of possessiveness is red flag number 1. That becomes public enemy number 1. That man's gonna turn your scalp into a potpourri jar or something. In our dark romance books, all here for it. All in. That is the possessive, unhinged bullshit that we are here for. We love us a feral man who will say, touch her and die type things, while saying that she is his. That's our goal here, to find the most feral nonsense in the world. So, once Nero commits, there's a lot of issue in his execution of committing, because she's trying to push his hand. He wants to keep her safe. She doesn't quite understand, and so she wants to be a part of his life. And she goes to public outings that he's at and sort of exposes their nascent relationship and sees him with sort of a trophy person on his arm at a party that he has to be seen with a very specific type of woman at. And she loses her shit because, of course she does, like, the man she gave her virginity to, who she is slowly falling in love with, who haunts her every waking moment and her dreams, is with a beautiful society class escort. And Payton loses her ever-loving shit and tries to tell Nero that it's over, and baby boy takes that as well as you would expect. Which means he does not accept it. They end up having dubious consent sex. And then she gets put into an almost firefight, and he abducts her and takes her to his home. There's no part of this that is healthy. Except that Nero wants nothing more than her happiness once he commits to her. that is all Nero wants, and he doubles down on it every single time, going so far as to get her the dog she's always wanted, and making sure that she feels comfortable in his home by giving her access to an interior designer just so that she can redo his entire home so that she feels comfortable in it because it's their home now. And so while he is the epitome of red flag, like the first, let's call it 50 to 60% of the book, he kills the people who did her wrong in her childhood, but she thanks him. So while he may be a murderer, she appreciates it. So we've got ourselves an unhinged dark romance girly right here. So that first 60% of the book, little red flag right there. But then, the last 40%, he just spends his time showing her how committed he is to her and how much he cares for her and how much he wants her to have a good and wholesome and happy life. Even if there is murder in it. It's fine. It's okay. And so reading Nero and seeing this progression of this criminal mastermind from emotionally detached and unattached to anybody except for his 3 other compatriots in the Alliance, to something that is much more emotionally alert and engaged and in love with a woman who makes him want to be better than he is. That's peak smut right there. 1,000%. When you add in the age gap of it all, the praise kink of it all, Nero is a solid 10 out of 10 regardless of the red flags. We're good with red flags here at the Moonlit Library, so long as they're fictional. This book also introduces us to King, who is one of the criminal compatriots in the Alliance. And King's book is the second one, and let me just tell you that I am obsessed with King. He's my absolute trash can, heir to a fortune, Wall Street baby. I love him so much. Don't ask me why. He just vibed in the exact right way in my heart. That's the grossest way I can think of to say that, but I am going to commit. It's fine. And Hans, the 4th book, the 4th and final book in the Alliance series, actually just released both in physical print and on audiobook. So we are just at the exact right time of it all for y'all to find the series and devour it the exact way that I have. Because, real talk, I am fully obsessed with the Alliance men. They are so perfect, even if they are aggressively imperfect and very red flag. If you are feeling Nero and Payton and you want to read the rest of their love story, please go check it out. You can find it on Amazon and Kindle Unlimited. You can also find signed copies of Nero through S.J. Tilley's website, which is in the caption. In addition to a number of special editions out there, I think at this point they're probably only on Mercari or Pengo Books or eBay, that are just some of the prettiest things I've ever seen, and I desperately want them, but for some reason my bank wants mortgage payments more than me to have the Alliance series. I hope you loved our smutty story time, and I cannot wait to introduce you to next week's author, because frankly, she has become one of my automatic must-reads, and I cannot wait to introduce you to the absolute unmitigated, unhinged angst. If you want to keep seeing these stories, please go subscribe. I'd love to see you back here again in future. Thank you so much again for joining us.